Hey y'all, I'm Ariana Johnson and I'm the managing editor as well as co-social media director for Her Campus CAU. And if you're looking to be a socialite for the most poppin' org in the AUC, keep on watching, period. First of all, let me put y'all on. I'm looking for some people who are creative, outspoken, detail-oriented, and in tune with current news and pop culture. You might know a little thing or two about the government and how politics work, but you also know when the next Ivy Park launch drops, okay? And another thing, we are open to all majors and all classifications. You could literally be a graduating senior in your last semester or a freshman still trying to find their way. If making graphics and social media is the thing for you, baby, apply.
Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome to My Dream Job Journey, an event series from Adobe where we chat with special guests about how they achieved their dream careers. If we're just meeting, my name is Katrina Torrijos and I am the Creative Cloud Express Evangelist. I am also a YouTuber and a Twitch streamer on the side. And this is the seventh event in the series. So if you wanted to watch our past Dream Job events, check out the Creative Cloud LinkedIn page or the Adobe Creative Cloud Express YouTube channel to check out the replays after you watch this session. So shout out to everyone in chat with us. Where are y'all tuning in from? And also, if this isn't your first Dream Job event, let us know how many you have attended. Is this your first one? Is this your sixth one or seventh one? I'd love to know. So shout out to folks in chat. Arlanda, hello. We have Jordan on our team and Lisa in the chat as well. Hello, Sharon. Hi, Maya. Hi, Gina. Welcome to the stream. So excited to be here again. Hello, Summer. Hi, Binta. Hi, Marcos. Oh my gosh, so many people in chat. I'm so excited. Okay, so today, we are joined by Christian Trintran and Ariana Johnson, two brilliant creatives who landed amazing internships as social media marketers at Nintendo and the Walt Disney Company. We do have an agenda for today, so I'll just put it up right now. Perfect. So we'll be doing a Q&A session, and they'll also be taking us behind the scenes on how they use Creative Cloud Express to create some really cool projects. And also, we have some amazing Creative Cloud Express templates for you to use today to try out and play around with. So if you post your project on LinkedIn, you may have a chance to be randomly selected for a one-on-one mentoring session with either Christian or Ariana. So stay tuned to the end for more details on how to participate in the giveaway. And I will also walk you through how to use the templates if you've never used Creative Cloud Express before. And we can also check out these past templates submitted from the previous events. So as you can see, so many people have used the templates. Some of them made it their own, probably didn't. You don't even have to use the templates at all. But we will get more into that after the Q&A and stuff is over. Hello, Hannah. Welcome to the stream. Hi, Naya. First one. We got a lot of first timers in here. Nice. I love this. I was just using Creative Cloud Express when I got the notification for this event. Oh my God. Hey, Jocelyn. Let me know if I said your name right. I love to get names pronounced correctly. But oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming to the stream. I'm so excited. Cool. Okay, so after the session, we will also be having an after party in the Creative Career Discord server where we will hang out after the event, chat, and you can ask Christian and Arya more questions if we don't get to your question today. We only have an hour with each other today, so we have a lot of content to get through and stuff like that. So if we don't get to your question, feel free to join us at the after party. All right, Christian, Ariana, are you two ready for some questions?
Yes, let's go.
Perfect. Okay, so everyone in chat, feel free to start spamming the chat with your questions for them. It could be about their internship, about really just about anything about the what's it called, application process, portfolio, resume, anything. Start spamming the chat with your questions. For those who are in the chat that aren't familiar with either of you, can you just do a quick introduction of who you are, what you do, and just a little bit about yourself? We'll start with Ariana.
Okay, so hey y'all, I'm Ariana Johnson. I am a graduating senior at Clark Atlanta University, where I'm studying mass media arts with a concentration in journalism. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, but of course I'm in Atlanta right now, finishing out my degree. And yeah, I'm currently working with Disney, working as their social media and content intern for FX Networks. So yeah, I've really enjoyed that so far. I've been there since the fall semester. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and speak to everyone.
Yay, Christian.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Christian. I'm a junior at USC, currently studying business, but also pursuing a double minor in game design and visual narrative art. And so I've always been interested in the intersection between storytelling and graphics. And that's kind of something I want to pursue down the line, marketing within the interactive entertainment industry. And yeah, I'm based in SoCal. I grew up in Orange County and been here ever since. So yeah, super excited to be here.
Nice. Awesome. So glad to meet both of you. So the next question I like to follow up with this is, how did y'all get started in your career journey? Like, what was that thing that clicked for you that you wanted to go down the path of like social media marketing or whatever path you consider yourself on right now?
Sure. I'll go first. Yeah. So like I said, I'm going to school for journalism, so I love to write. And I'm still, working as a journalist currently. But it wasn't until I joined the club that I'm a part of right now, her campus at my school, that I was able to step up into the role of co-social media director my junior year, I believe it was. And so previous to that, I was just working in the journalism field strictly. But I did that and I fell in love. So I joined some other clubs, like the Texas Club at my school. I'm the social media and marketing chair for that as well. And I really liked that. So I decided to try my luck out in some internships to get some experience. And the first one was with another streaming platform. And then I worked with Warner Media as their entertainment marketing intern over the summer. And I really liked that. So I applied to FX, and yeah, that's where I am now. So yeah, just had to jump from career field to career field, but they kind of intersect, so it's okay.
Cool. Christian?
Yeah. As for me, I feel like the reason why I kind of gravitated towards social media, it's because it's like a perfect blend between, creative and analytical kind of thinking. I've always kind of loved, designing and, doing kind of artistic type of things, because I went to a pretty small school my entire life, and it was a very art-centric type of school. And so I kind of just grew up with that. And so I think with me, I've always liked social media just because, you can create social assets, you can help ideate for campaigns, but you can also look at things from a more data-driven side and take a look at, how campaigns are performing. And so I think that the blend of the two is what's really appealing to me. And so going into college, I started as a biochem major. I originally thought I wanted to do like cosmetic formulations, but after a semester of classes, I realized that wasn't for me. And so I switched to business, and I took a marketing course, and I really fell in love with it. And one of the projects we did for that class was like a BuzzFeed marketing project where we had to, market a BuzzFeed article from start to finish and try to get as much engagement as possible. And that was really fun. And so from there, I just worked on, taking design classes and building up my portfolio and applying to internships. And so my first internship was as a creative marketing intern at this super small speaker startup. And that was a lot of fun. And from there, I'm currently interning as a brand marketing design intern at this mobile game company called Jam City. And so I've got to work on games like Harry Potter, which has been super fun. And so, yeah, overall, I love that creative and technical duality.
That's so exciting. So glad to hear how, that moment where y'all knew that you just wanted to go down the social media route and stuff, and just hearing like, where both of you started. I have a question. First question from chat from Tierney Dean. What's your advice on gaining internships, or like, I guess, applying or finding internships and excelling in the interviews?
I think my advice would be to start as soon as possible within like your college matriculation. And so I started my sophomore year. I wish I would have started my freshman year because experience is everything. And so I applied everywhere. Like I applied on LinkedIn, I applied on Indeed, like everywhere. And so I would recommend, and not everybody has this privilege, but I would recommend not to count out the unpaid internships, just because like you can still gain experience from that. But I understand not everybody can, work unpaid internships. Totally understand. But yeah, I would recommend that, like just applying, make sure your resume is up top, like top shape. And yeah, once you get the internship, I definitely would recommend asking questions, even though you think they're dumb. They're probably not. So yeah, just ask questions if you're confused or need clarification, and network while you're in the position that you're in. Like networking is very, very important. I probably wouldn't be as far as I am if it wasn't for networking. So making sure that you have those one-on-ones with people, especially in positions that you would be interested in working in. And yeah, those are my top tips.
Love that. Christian, anything?
Yeah, for me, I would say like if you're really starting from like the ground up, like no experience, like for instance, like me, when I went into school, I didn't actually have any like formal work experience within social media, and so I found that what helped was, of course, like taking classes, within business or design, and sort of building my portfolio through projects like that. And then from there, you can always build up those transferable skills, and so you can help, for instance, market stuff for a club, and then talk about that in your interviews and put it on your resume. And also, I agree with Ariana's point of like starting early and doing a lot of research. And definitely don't count out unpaid internships. My first internship was actually an unpaid internship, and so I feel like the experience I got out of that internship was still just as valuable had it been a paid internship, just because usually, at least for me, like when I was interning, I was at a startup, and so it was a very small team, and I feel like I was able to make a lot of impact because of that. And so that was really valuable information to be able to talk to, during interviews and resume. And just in general, yeah, like use LinkedIn as a tool to help connect with people in positions that you're aspiring to be. You can learn about their story and kind of learn more about the application process, and that can help you really fine tune your like interview prep and whatnot. And so, yeah.
Yes, such great tips. We have a couple repeat questions from Kristen. Like on that note, like what are some things that folks can do to like stand out from other applicants? Like, is there anything that you did or that you feel you did really well in like your resume or portfolio to land these internships that made you stand out?
Yeah. For me, I would say definitely don't neglect your hobbies. I feel like so on the side, I like to do like character design and animation and stuff like that. And I feel like those were actually good portfolio pieces I was able to put on my website and talk to when I was doing my interviews and whatnot. People were interested in that and they wanted to learn more about kind of the process behind those things. And so don't neglect the things you love. They can become actually very useful in terms of talking points within interviews and resumes. And also, like for instance, for my Nintendo resume, because it was a social media position, and I know this is a controversial point within resume tips and whatnot, but I actually catered my resume towards the position in terms of like the graphic design. And so my name, for instance, on the resume was actually like the Pokemon font, and so I feel like that made it kind of a bit more unique in terms of like the branding of the resume. And so don't afraid to be a bit playful if it's a more creative position. I know like sometimes there's like the ATS system that can get in the way, but yeah, I would say definitely focus on your hobbies and do your research on the company and the position so you can kind of tune your resume to that.
Yeah, and for me, when it comes to my resume, I didn't just like include what I did for each organization or each internship I was at. I included like a situation and the effect of it. So, like, for example, I would include I live tweeted and I got 25 engagements and over 400,000 impressions. Like, it's really good to include that type of stuff so that they can see, like, visibly see the work that you've been doing. And yeah, for me personally, like I said, I'm also working in journalism. So, like, if whatever career field you're in uses a specific type of, like, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but for journalists, for example, we use AP style of writing. So make sure that your resume is in the format of AP. And so another tip I would give is, like, cover letters. Even if they said that it's optional, I always submit a cover letter. And yeah, they can be really intimidating at first. But what I did, I just looked online and found some templates that I thought would, work. And I just fine tuned it for me. Of course, looking for the recruiter or hiring manager on LinkedIn is a really big plus because you always want to have it addressed to someone if you can. And then, so, like, the cover letter, you shouldn't just be repeating what you have in your resume. It should be telling them why you want to work for the company, why you're the best candidate for the position, and just kind of go into detail more about you and the work that you've done. So,
Love that. Such great tips. So pivoting towards talking about more towards, like, the process you two went through when applying for your internships. So India Rice asked, like, how does the process work when you're trying to work with such prestigious companies? So, like, when you're applying to the internship, like, give us the inside scoop. What did y'all have to go through to land these roles?
so for me, I'm trying to think back all the way into September. Yeah, I applied on, like, the actual Disney career site. And that's another tip I would give. If you know that there's a company that you want to work for, chances are they have a career site. So I would definitely sign up for alerts for job postings, so that you're on top of things and you can submit applications on time. But yeah, so I applied on the Disney career site, and one of the recruiters reached out to me. So I had a one-on-one with her, basically going over, like, what to expect. It was a little, like, more personable. It wasn't as professional as I thought it was going to be, but, like, yeah, we were just having a conversation. I think she was just kind of filling me out to see if I would be a good fit to then go on and interview with, like, the team. So I did that, and then once I finished interviewing with her, that's when I interviewed with the team that I'm working on now. So, like, my director, I interviewed with her, just strictly her. And so, yeah, once that happened, a couple weeks later, got the offer letter, and yeah, that's the process.
Nice. How about you, Christian? Anything similar or different, or what's up?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like my process started, like, super early. I actually started thinking about, like, the Nintendo stuff the end of my sophomore year, because Nintendo, of course, was always a company that I knew I wanted to work at one day, just because I grew up with the IP and I loved the company culture. But it wasn't until the end of my sophomore year where I spoke to someone in a club I was in at school, who had actually internet Nintendo in the past. And so once I spoke to them, I realized that it was actually a possibility. And so from there, I started networking with the current cohort of interns that summer, and just kept in touch with them, learned about their experience and what they liked about working at Nintendo, their dislikes, etc. And from there, they recommended I reach out to other people at the company to learn more about the application process as a whole. And so that's what I did. I reached out to someone on LinkedIn, and they walked me through, like, the application process, the timeline, when to apply. And so from there, I applied on their website in October, I think. And the first application step was just to send in a resume and then fill out a short questionnaire. And then from there, I waited a little bit, and I was notified for, like, a phone screen with a recruiter. And so I did that, and then I waited for a couple more months. And it wasn't until, I think, maybe like 3 or 4 months after that I received a request for a super round interview. And so that was a pretty intense day where I interviewed with 3 people on the social media marketing team, and it was, like, about 3 hours total. And so after that, they notified me that I got the position very soon after. And so, yeah, that was kind of the process as a whole.
That's crazy. You waited months to
Yeah.
hear back? Oh my goodness, that's so long.
I mean, it was still within the same year, but yeah, it was a couple months.
Okay, within the same year. Yeah, okay, that's insane. But I'm so glad that, you ended up hearing back. And now you're at Nintendo, at literally one of your dream companies. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes patience is key, really. And just waiting for the opportunity, because you never know what could happen. Let's see. We have another question. Hannah asks, are there any common mistakes that you see from your peers or other people who are just getting started in the field? So, like, have you seen any like resume, portfolio, or interview mistakes that you've seen that, or even mistakes that you've made, that you've learned from in the past that you would want folks to know and watch out for?
I think, like, for the resume, for example, you have to like double, triple, quadruple check it to make sure that there aren't misspelled words. Because if you put yourself in the shoes of a hiring manager, they're getting the resumes of like amazing people, and so like small things like a word being misspelled can knock you out of the competition, even though you yourself are a really good candidate. It's little things like that they have to do to dwindle down that pile of applications. And also, one thing that I like recently added a couple months ago after speaking with one of my mentors, that I don't know why I didn't think about adding to my resume, but like your LinkedIn profile link at the top of your resume. So I have like my number, my email address, my name, of course, and then my LinkedIn profile up at the top of my resume. Just because I think LinkedIn, it's kind of gives you more perspective into who the person is, because like, yeah, you can post about your jobs, but like LinkedIn is literally another form of social media. It's just the professional side of things. So they can get a better, recruiters and hiring managers can get a better look and view into who you are. But what I would say, and a lot of people have told me that this is a mistake, but not to include your resume on your LinkedIn, just because when you do have it on your LinkedIn, that's all they got what they needed to get, basically. And so there's really no need to speak with you further, things of that nature. So I don't have my resume on my LinkedIn anymore. And yeah, but yeah, I mean, I would say this, but everybody has one, but make a LinkedIn. Everyone here, we got that covered, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that is such a good point of taking off your LinkedIn, because it's almost like, let's say, we have some graphic designers in the chat, it's like putting your prices up on your website. Folks will know your prices and will get the answer, and they don't, you miss that opportunity to have that one-on-one conversation, and to have that follow-up conversation, and see if there's something there even further. So that is such a great tip. I love that. Christian, any mistakes that you have done or you've seen people do in the application process?
I don't know about other people, just because I feel like I'm still also very new within like the industry, and so. But in terms of like, I feel like things that have worked for me in terms of my resume and things that I've noticed have made a difference when I've changed them is like, for instance, for my bullets, I always I think focusing on the tangible impact and the result of what you did, kind of like what Ariana mentioned earlier, it definitely helps a lot more in terms of like showcasing what you achieved at your internship or whatnot. And also like taking advantage of hyperlinks is something that I found has been super helpful for me. And so of course at the top of my resume I have like my portfolio, my LinkedIn linked, but also even within the resume itself, if you're talking about a project, for instance, and you have like a Google slide deck that you want to showcase, I've actually found that if you hyperlink it into like the resume, recruiters can, I mean, it depends on the software that they use, but sometimes they can actually click on the hyperlink you did and look at your work. So it's kind of like another opportunity for you to showcase what you can do. It's kind of like a sneaky trick, basically, because it's not like you're adding more words, you're just like highlighting certain words. And I feel like that's helped in like my success rate in terms of like getting interviews and whatnot.
That's actually a good tip about hyperlinking.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna steal that.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, because you upload it in PDF, right? If you didn't know, y'all should be uploading in PDF in chat, y'all. So yeah, and you can open hyperlinks on PDF. So yeah, that is such a good tip. Okay, cool. I have another question from Jamila Wood. What are some sample questions or conversation openers when connecting with a recruiter on LinkedIn, especially if you were advised to connect? So, like, what are some of y'all's like conversation openers when reaching out to someone on LinkedIn or something like that?
Yeah. For me, I feel like first it helps if you start earlier, like before applications even open, just because I feel like when you do it like that, it showcases a bit more like a genuine kind of interest in the application process and the internship as a whole. Just because if you do it too soon to when applications are open, it can seem kind of like not disingenuous, but it comes off differently. And so
Mhm.
the earlier you do it, the better. That's my first recommendation. But in terms of like messaging itself, I would just say like, hi, like, I'm a student at XYZ school studying XYZ. And I'm interested in the company and the internship program as a whole. And I'd love to learn more about what that's like. And I feel like the earlier you start, the more genuine the message comes off, because you're not really like looking to get anything. Of course, you're looking to get like information and a new contact to speak to. But yeah, I think that would be my advice in terms of like messaging and for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Start as soon as possible. But yeah, I would, and especially I know she said if you were advised to connect with them, I would just give a brief introduction of who I am and what I do, the fields that I'm interested in, and try and set up like maybe a one-on-one, like on Zoom or something, to speak with them. But I would also try and keep in contact with them. So like not like every week messaging them like, hey, just checking up on you, but try to get it in a good time frame. And like LinkedIn, for example, like try to interact with some of their posts, not like crazy, like super annoying, but just so that they can see that you're interested in what you said that you were. So yeah, keeping in contact is a really big thing for me.
Nice. Love that. Love that. Okay, we have a lot of questions, y'all. But people are loving everything you're saying in chat. Marcus says, like, wow, these are incredible journeys, you two. Sharon says, I wish I could exclude the years in my experience. No one needs to know how old I am. But Sharon, adding years of experience is great. Okay. You age like fine wine on a resume. It just shows how much experience you have. Marcus also says, yes, so creative. Jordan said, yes, love that. So many people vibing with what y'all are saying. So the next question comes from, let's see. Gosh, so many questions. Okay. Next question comes from Summer. Going back to the linking stuff, would you recommend adding extra things on your resume, such as like links to large groups you admin on social media? Let's say you're a manager for like other accounts or something. Would it be a good idea to link out to stuff like that?
Do you mean like you're like a moderator for a group, or like do you mean?
Like, let's say like, we're talking social media, like marketing or something. So let's say like they create content or they manage a certain account. Would it be appropriate to link out to like these accounts as well?
Oh yeah, I think that's. I mean, from personal experience, I think that would be okay, especially if you're like, if you've worked on like a certain IP, or if you're talking about a certain brand, you can
Mhm.
link their social media just so it's easier for the recruiter to click on, and then they can actually see your work kind of there in the flesh. So yeah, I think it
Mhm.
should be okay.
Okay, so it's not limited to just like portfolios or like your own personal website. So
Yeah,
people should feel free to like link out to the actual companies and stuff like that to, as long as it's relevant to like their work.
yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Okay. Cool. And then next question is from Marcus. Like, what has work-life balance been like as an intern at these respective companies? Like, yeah, like what's it like? Because y'all are both full-time students, right? So what's it like balancing all of these internships and being a student at the same time? And if you have a part-time job or something like that, and life in general too.
Um, I'll be honest, it's still a challenge, but we're trying. Because like you said, I'm a full-time student. I have this internship part-time, and I'm a part of like 4 or 5 different clubs on campus. So like I'm always in a meeting or doing something. But what I found, when it comes to like my internship, I like to work and work and work. But I told my boss about how like I usually work during lunch, and she was like, Ariana, no. You need to use that hour and step away and like take a walk, eat something, do something. So I took her advice. And so now like I use that hour to myself to just mentally prepare, like fill up my water jug, get some food, do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, in Disney, actually, this was last semester, but they actually had like mental health days where we took off the whole day. So we could just, unwind, whatever we wanted to do. But yeah, that was really cool. But I try to, this is me personally, I try to get all of the events and dates of what I'm doing for school, my orgs, and my internship, and like put it in one calendar. I'm definitely like an iPad whiz, like those tweets where it's like everybody with iPads seem like they have it like yeah, iPads definitely help me. So I try and get those in my calendar as soon as possible, so I know like I can map out my weeks and my months. And yeah, I just try to use my weekend to either focus on homework or me time, because I love good social gatherings. So
Yes, of course. How about you, Christian?
Yeah, well, I can't speak to Nintendo's work-life balance. It's just I haven't started the internship, but I am interning at another company called Jam City, and I've been super lucky with the fact that everyone at the company has been super, warm and compassionate with regards to and understanding with regards to like my current schedule. But of course, there are times when deadlines overlap between class and internship work, and so it's this cliche, but I think time management is super important. And I feel like what helps with time management is to have some kind of motivating factor, reward in mind. And so, for instance, let's say like if I want to go see a movie with my friends, on the weekend, I have that as a motivating factor for me to get my work done. And especially when it comes to deciding between like prioritizing your schoolwork or your internship work, I found that was like a struggle for me at first. I think at the end of the day, like it matters what's important to you. Like if you really love school and you're a student, then of course like prioritize your classes. But for me, I found that I feel like I'm not saying that school wasn't valuable, but I feel like my internship work was more important to me in the time. And so while I was doing schoolwork, for instance, a good tip that I would do is I would like zoom out from my work and think about like the long-term implications of the work. So for instance, like if I'm writing an essay, and I think about like, will the result of this essay like really impact me like 20 to 30 years down the line? Like probably not. And so I feel like that's like a motivating factor for me to kind of get it done and not to beat myself up about it if it doesn't, turn out as good as I wanted it to be. But
Yeah, I feel that. Okay, so we're about halfway through the Q&A, so I think it's time to take a little break. Chat, feel free to keep adding questions, but we're going to take a little creative break, and we're going to go look behind the scenes on how Christian and Ariana created some really creative projects for their own work. We're going to start with Ariana. And oh, by the way, they made all of these projects in Creative Cloud Express. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. I'll have a mod drop a link below. But yeah, Ariana, would you like to give us a little walkthrough on how you created a project in Creative Cloud Express?
Yeah, so I'll start off by saying like the project that I'm doing. So like I said, I'm a journalist at heart. And so marketing your articles and the stories that you write is super duper big on your own personal socials. So I decided to, for this project, make an Instagram stories post marketing an article that I wrote. And yeah, just making it creative and fun. So yeah, let's get started.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, so just go up here. The Creative Cloud is like super interesting. So like I clicked the Instagram stories pre-made like dimensions, and so as you can see, like it's the exact format of Instagram stories. And so what I really love about Creative Cloud Express is they have all of these preset designs, and I'm definitely going to take advantage of it. So yeah, they're really nice. But I'm going to go down here to the sales and promotions tab since I'm promoting my article. And yeah, everything looks really good, really well put together. But I don't know, I was feeling a groovy mood today. So that's why I'm going with this template right here. that I'm using. And yeah, although, I like the glasses, I like the shades, but yeah, girl, we gotta go. So yeah, I decided to be a little creative. And so I went to the shapes icon on the left hand side and I typed in iPhone and just watch what we're gonna do now. So I'm just gonna move it to the middle and resize it so that it fits, since it's the focal point of my design. And yeah, bear with me because I'm a little, oh, look at that. See, I moved that. I didn't mean to, but look, undo button up at the top. Everything works out. So yeah, I'm going to try and center it in the middle. Everything looks good. Make it a little bit smaller. Got to pay attention to all those details. I don't know. I feel like I'm a perfectionist at times. And then I'm going to change it to black because, yeah, like iPhone looks better. And so Creative Cloud, it has all of these really good like Adobe stock photos that you can choose from. But I am going to upload a screenshot of an article that I wrote, which, of course, if you want to keep up to date with my work, shameless plug, follow my socials.
Drop that link.
Portfolio, of course. So yeah, I imported my screenshot. This is an article I wrote about when Biden Harris visited my school, and they just gave a speech about voting rights. So I'm going to zoom in so that I can get the fit and the shape perfectly. So I went to the crop and shape option in the right hand corner. And as you can see, I'm choosing this like kind of rounded square because it fits more into the shape of the iPhone. So I'm going to drag that all the way to the top. And then I'm going to do the same, drag it all the way to the bottom so that we can get the shape of the iPhone. And yeah, if you can't tell, so I'm going to make it a little smaller, but if you can't tell, so the screenshot is on top of the iPhone and we want it to go behind it so that it can look like it's actually the iPhone screen. So there's the really cool layers option at the bottom right hand corner that I clicked, and I'm just going to drag the screenshot layer beneath the iPhone layer, and look at that. Just like magic. So now I'm just going to resize it so that it's the perfect fit for the iPhone. Let's see if I can get it on the first try. I think I did actually. Let's see if it's realistic. Oh wait, see, look, it literally looks like an iPhone, but of course you got to go down and crop it a little bit so the bottom isn't hanging out, and so yeah, it's really customizable. You can crop just about anything and everything. Let's see what we're looking like now. Hey, it looks pretty good to me.
So good.
So yeah, so I'm gonna zoom back out because I had to zoom in to do attention to details. But now I'm gonna change the text and the titles because, girl, I'm not selling sunglasses. I'm selling an article. So I'm gonna change the text at the top to read "Check out my new." And then at the bottom, we're going to change that as well. Keeping the same font because I personally like it, but I don't like how the letters are like on top of each other. So of course, I'm going to spread it out until they're all in a straight line. Then of course, I'm going to center it with the rest of my words and the rest of my piece. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So then I'm going to go down to sunglasses and I'm going to change that to the word article. So it fully reads, check out my new article, with the article as the focal point in the middle. And yeah, that looks pretty good to me. And so I'm going to I always try to direct people to the links for my articles and for my story. So I'm going to go over here on the left-hand side to the text icon, and that sign up today icon looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to change those words to read link in bio, because on all my social medias, I have my portfolio link in my bio, or my link tree with like all my portfolio links, my article links, and all of that. And so, yeah, and it's really customizable. I don't know if you can tell, but you can change each one of those words individually. So like if you wanted to change the size of one word to be smaller than the other, you can. If you want to change the font of one word, you can. And so, yeah, I really, really love that about Creative Cloud Express. So, yeah, we're changing that to read link in bio, and then we're going to move it so that it fits in the frame. So, yeah. Uh-oh, now I misspelled bio. I can't spell. Let's add that O and then get back to work, okay? So yeah, that looks good now. And so this red is really throwing me off, y'all. So I'm gonna try and have it look like kind of the blue that's in the bottom right-hand corner of my background. And so as you can see, you can customize any color that you want. And you can input the hex code of a color that you know that you're using as well into that bar right there next to the circle color. So I really like that about it. Shrink it, make it a little bit smaller. We're gonna put it in the bottom, or not the bottom, the top right-hand corner. And I don't know, let's tilt it. I don't know, add some pizzazz. I don't know. And yeah, make it a little smaller so it doesn't compete with those words. And I don't know, looks good, looks good. So the next step is just to download it and as a PNG file, and then I can upload it to my Instagram stories and get to promoting. So yeah, that's what I use it for. Get to intersect my love of journalism with my love of social media. And yeah, I hope y'all liked it. Hope it helped y'all.
That is so awesome. Oh my gosh, I did not think to use like the shapes, the iPhone shapes, and use it as a mock-up. I've never done that before. That was so creative, and it looks so good once you added like the rounded corner crop and stuff. So good. Oh my gosh. And people in chat love it. We have Sharon and Marcus being like, yes, the undo button is the best creation ever. Life wouldn't be complete without that handy dandy undo button. Summer said, love this. Elisa said, so good. Sharon said, love demos like this. It helps me understand so much better. And then Alberta, where can we access these recordings? They will be automatically saved to the Creative Cloud LinkedIn page, so the page you're on right now. We'll also have a replay on the Creative Cloud Express YouTube channel. So love this. Marcus said, love how you incorporated the iPhone shape. Awesome creative touch. Looks great, Ariana.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have sausage fingers and long nails, so that undo button, I use all the time. Thank you.
Love that. Love that. Great job. All right, Christian, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's show us what you made. Do you want to talk first?
Oh yeah, sure. So my demo is well, first off, I've always been into like food and like food content creators, and so the piece I'll be demoing today is like a simple like restaurant review, social media type of graphic that you can use as a template. And you can, of course, if you're a food content creator, like use it, or if you just want to share with your friends, you know, a recent restaurant you tried in a more fun and playful way, you can do it like this. And so yeah, we can get started. And so first I'm going to go into the templates. And for this graphic, I'm going to go with the 1080 by 1080 Instagram template. And then to start, I'm going to actually import a graphic that I created, but I'll show you what you can do. If you don't have a graphic like this, you can actually use a real image and crop it accordingly to kind of get a similar aesthetic. And from there, I'm going to add some font. And I'm using a custom font here. That's the cool thing about Creative Cloud Express. You can import your fonts. And I'm just repositioning it, and then I'm going to change the color to something that matches the graphic using the eyedrop tool. It's just super, super handy. So from there, once I've got the color to my liking, I'm going to duplicate the text and then change it so that we can better convey what we're looking at here. So we've got a stack of berry pancakes. And then for the background, I'm going to change it to a light pink, just so that it's still light enough where there's enough contrast so you can see the graphic and the text, but just so it looks a bit more unified with the rest of the color palette. And so then I'm going to go into the shapes bar, and the shapes bar is super, super nifty because you can just look up whatever word you want and a vector will come up that you can choose and customize accordingly. So that's super awesome. And so I clicked location and I typed that in, and I picked a vector that I liked. And so here I'm actually adding the location of the restaurant. Fun fact, this is in South Coast Plaza in Costa Mesa. If you live nearby, it's super good. Definitely recommend it. And here I'm actually changing the outline of the font to a different color, and then making the fill of the font the same color as the background to create an outlined font sort of effect. I feel like that adds some good contrast to the piece. And so here I'm just like repositioning and rescaling things. And once I have that, I'm going to add an arrow again from the shape bar just to tell viewers to swipe right, assuming this piece is in a carousel. For more pictures, perhaps you have like an actual image of the food or a more detailed kind of description about what you ate, what you thought about the restaurant, etc. And so once you've gotten that position to your liking, I'm going to go again to the shapes bar and then just add some triangles just to help break up the image and make it a bit more fun. So yeah, just duplicating those, rotating them to add some randomness. And then for some of them, I'll add a fill instead of an outline so that it looks a bit different. And once I've got that done, then that's basically the finished graphic. And you can download that and save it to your computer. And if you don't have like an illustrated graphic like that, you can use a picture of the food you ate, for instance. And so I'm going to go into my library, upload it. And Creative Cloud Express has a really cool tool called the Remove Background tool that you can use. And basically, it'll help isolate kind of the main portion of the graphic. And if it kind of doesn't do a super great job, you can go in manually with a brush and erase kind of like the finer details to your liking. And once you've gotten that, you can rescale it, and it basically creates a pretty similar effect. And yeah, that's basically the final piece.
Wow. That is super cool. And that was so quick. Wait, back up. For the first image that you put, you said you made that graphic?
Oh yeah, that was I made that graphic in Photoshop, so it was an external thing.
Okay. And then where did you pull it in from? It was from like your CC libraries, right?
Yeah, the Creative Cloud Express library. So I uploaded it, and the cool thing about the library feature, I think, is that once you have it in your library, you can access that image wherever you go. It doesn't have to be on the same computer as long as you have the same Creative Cloud Express account. And so it's super nifty if you don't remember to import images from different computers or different workspaces.
The beauty of the cloud. Am I right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And yes, so many people said, they loved the stuff that you made. Elisa said that font is fire. Summer said pretty rad. And then, Sharon has a question. I think both of you can answer. A random question. My professor and I got into a convo about typography and age. Are you finding any trends on platforms right now towards specific styles or away from any specific styles?
I think a trend that I've seen and that I've actually been a part of is using, it's not like, I don't have like a specific name of the font, but using blocky letters. That's like such a terrible description, but like kind of like the font that Christian used. So using like all capital letters instead of, the exact grammar, like capitalized first letter, all of that. No, like all the letters are capitalized. So I've seen that trend. But yeah, I haven't noticed anything else really.
Yeah, I think it obviously depends on like the brand and kind of the overall brand aesthetic. But I think just like choosing fonts that people can read, that's legible, and then also that stands out, kind of like what Ariana was saying about kind of like bolder text. I feel like that's really easy to see on like a graphic. And so I guess in terms of like if you want to create like an asset, typically like bolder fonts tend to do better just because it's easier for people to read at first glance. Yeah, I'm not sure about trends, but I think in general, like that's kind of like a good rule to stick to.
Yeah. How about like in terms of personal style? So like, let's say you're making a graphic, it's totally like Christian branded, Ariana branded. Like, what are your aesthetics? Like, what styles do you to gravitate towards?
I like kind of like edgier styles, really depending on what I'm promoting. But yeah, like I try to stay away from like the stereotypical, like very like sophisticated, classy, like very pink aesthetic. But like, cause that's not my brand, that's not who I am. And so I like very bold, a little edgy aesthetics that are very eye-catching. And so that's what I gravitate towards when I'm making assets for my personal social accounts.
Love that.
Yeah. I love prints too. I mean,
prints.
Yes. Big print girl. So,
yeah. How about you, Christian?
For me, again, it just depends on like the brand and stuff. But I think in general, I do like sans serif stuff. I think it's kind of like the minimalist kind of aesthetic, and I think it's elegant in its own way. But I mean, I have a guilty guilty pleasure for like the brush lettering font sometimes. I kind of like that. It's not like super easy to read, but sometimes I like that. But in terms of like social media kind of assets, when like you're publishing people, I think sans serif and bolder fonts are good.
Yes. So we have a couple people, huge fans of sans serif. Elisa said, or Summer said, all caps plus cursive. Sharon said, I'm a very sans serif gal, so I'm always curious. Jalandra said, same, sans serif all day. So I definitely I feel that. Oh man. Okay. So one last question I like to end off all my interviews. So if folks were to take one important thing away from the stream, aka your last piece of advice, what would it be?
My advice would be don't be afraid to put yourself out there and network and speak to people. Because I don't know if you can tell, but I am very much of like an introverted person. And so it wasn't until the pandemic where everything was virtual and we had a screen between each other that I was able to like branch out and like apply for things that I wanted to, speak to people in positions that I knew I wanted to be in. And so I think I struggled and still do to this day with imposter syndrome. So thinking that I'm not good enough for positions that I know I can apply for. And so, yeah, don't be afraid to apply for those opportunities that you know you want. Even if you don't meet all the requirements, still do it. You never know where you'll wind up. And don't be afraid to keep in contact with people, network with people, so that because you might need them one day, but don't let it be just a one-sided relationship. Try to have a mutual relationship between them, where it's beneficial for both parties. So yeah, I feel like I said a lot in one, but they all co-align, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that. I mean, I think if I was to give any advice, is kind of cliche, but just like be nice to yourself when you're kind of in the internship and job search process, because it can be a very brutal process. And so I think for me, like for instance, like when I was in the midst of it, I remember like when there were times where I was like doing like I was working on my hobbies or playing video games, something like that, I would feel guilty just because I wasn't spending like every waking second like doing something career related, whether it be like working on my resume or polishing my portfolio, etc. But at the same time, especially if you're a student, I think it's important to remember that school is kind of like the only time in your life where you'll have like mandated winter or summer break. And so, don't be afraid to use that time to your advantage and do things you love, especially because with your hobbies, you can always speak to them in interviews and put them on your portfolio and resume and such. And so don't feel bad. And I get what Ariana was saying about imposter syndrome too. And just remember that everybody kind of achieves things at their own pace. And even if you fail, you can always try again next time. And so, don't beat yourself up, and just remember what's important to you in life. And yeah, that's my advice.
Boom, mic drop. And with that, thank you all so much for taking time out of your day, both Christian and Ariana, for hanging out with us. I think I could speak for everyone in chat. Like, we really appreciate it. And thank you everyone in chat for hanging out with us as well. But before y'all go, let's talk about this giveaway. So y'all thought we were done. We are not done here. So we have 3 fun remixable templates made with Creative Cloud Express. And we want to know what your dream company to work for is. And, we're going to manifest it. We're going to put it out into the universe, speak it to existence, and we're going to put it on LinkedIn. So the link that Jordan's going to drop in the chat will have all of the templates you can choose from. I also have them on my screen here. Feel free to use them. Feel free to make your own. Really, it's just simple. We just want to know what company you want to work for. And I want you to post it on LinkedIn. So once you remix the template, you're going to put your photo and the title of you're going to put the photo and the name of the company you'd like to work for on the template, and then post it on LinkedIn using hashtag Adobe Dream Job and hashtag Express It. So we can find it, and you'll be entered for a chance to be randomly selected for a one-on-one mentoring session with Christian or Ariana. And bonus points if you post your design or link to to it in the challenge submissions channel in the Creative Career Discord server. So, you know, you can make sure we see that. So really quick, I'm just going to go through the demo and just like, you know, show y'all how easy it is. Let's do something simple. Like let's go with this one. So we're just going to click on a template, anything that you want. You can choose one that requires a headshot, or if you don't want to include a headshot, whatever. Like I said, the option is totally up to you. And then we're just gonna let it load. It's creating a template from scratch. So if it takes a little bit of time, definitely just give it a moment. And also, you do need to have an Adobe account to access the templates, which is completely free to make. You just need to sign up, and then also it is totally free to get started in Creative Cloud Express. So once the template loads up, you're going to see this message. Just go ahead and click continue without brand. Don't worry, it's not going to break the template, but you're going to see something like this. And all you have to do is in the company name, you can type in the name that you want to put, or be extra creative, maybe put a logo or something. I don't know, totally up to you, but I'm going to put Adobe because we are at an Adobe talk right now. We're going to change the color to Adobe Red, increase the opacity, make it bigger just by dragging the sides. Boom, that's done. And then where it says insert your photo here, you can get rid of this text, take the photo, the stock photo. Let's hit replace. And then all of my headshots are on my Lightroom. So if you use Lightroom, definitely check that out. Everything is connected. And you can access your Lightroom photos here. So we're just going to click on a photo and boom, there's a picture of me. Let it render and clear up. And then, you know, we can edit the cutout or we can crop it. My body's a little bit long, so we'll just do that. Hit enter, boom, make it bigger, and boom, there you go. Download, export as PNG, upload it to LinkedIn. Super easy. So that's all you have to do. And again, templates are totally optional. You can totally make your own. You don't have to include a headshot. There are some templates that don't require the headshot or anything like that. So just feel free to play around in there. And also, don't forget to share with us in the Discord server. But also, speaking of Discord, we'll be having an after party in the Creative Career Discord server where you can hang out with Christian and Ariana and ask more questions. And if you can't make the after party, that's totally fine. You can connect with us on social media. Jordan will drop the links again. You can connect with Ariana and Christian on social. And also we'd love your feedback on this event so that we can make them even better for you for the future. So please take a moment to fill out our post-event survey. The link is in the chat and it'll really help the team, and also will help us make this a better experience for all of you. All right, so with that said, that was a lot of talking, but yes, that wraps it up for this session. Thank you all so much for joining, and thanks again, Christian and Ariana, for joining us this evening, and to everyone in chat. And yeah, we will see you all in Discord. Okay, bye-bye.